I just got off Amtrak's Texas Eagle and I'm in Dallas and I want to see all of the Dallas-Fort Worth area by public transportation. So in this video, we're going to be making a giant loop of the DFW area and exploring all the different rail options for public transit in the DFW area. All right, let's get started. Because we got in a little bit earlier than scheduled, I was able to make an earlier train for this first segment of the journey. This is Trinity Railway Express, and it runs between Dallas and Fort Worth. I took advantage of the regional day pass offer and paid $12 for a ticket that will allow me on all of the public transit in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm going to be taking it almost to the end of the line to transfer to my next mode. This is one of the stops, and you can see that there are bus connections at this station in particular. The ride was really nice, and it helps that the train was not very busy. This was partially because it was an 11 o'clock train on a weekday, but it was very nice and very comfortable. These are bi-level coach cars, which unlike the Metra gallery cars that I'm used to in Chicago, they are fully complete on the top and the bottom. There is a little bit of space for bike storage, which is always nice to see. And soon enough, we arrived at Fort Worth Central Station. Similar to a lot of other commuter lines, the TRE runs in a push-pull configuration with a diesel locomotive on one end and a passenger car with a crew cab on the other end that allows them to drive the train from either direction. As I was getting off the train, I noticed this interurban rail car here, which is pretty interesting to look at. I also saw a lot of people making use of the bus connections that are available at the station. It's always a good plan to have buses available at stations to get passengers to their final destination. The last mile is often the hardest part of taking public transportation. I mentioned that I wasn't taking TRE all the way to the line, and that's because this station allows me to transfer to the Tex Rail, which is the next train I'm going to be taking today. This is quite a different looking train than the one we just got off, but surprisingly, they are both diesel trains. Hopping aboard was very easy. You do have to press a button to get the doors to open, but stepping inside, I was met with a very new looking interior. It was definitely very fresh and not like TRE. I inadvertently ended up sitting in the quiet section, which I didn't realize till later. But you do have to open this door to get into the section, which is a nice touch. The seat was a little bit less spacious than TRE, but it does have overhead baggage storage, which is important because this train is going to an airport. There are 2 USB-A ports available at my seat. There's also a tray table, for some reason. It was plenty comfortable though, and I'm definitely not complaining. While there are quite a few grade crossings during the journey, we also make an approach to go over a highway where we get some decent elevation. You can also see some of the other rail infrastructure in this area, although that rail is for freight, not passengers. Ah yes, nothing says Texas like large high school football stadiums. We're currently on a siding, waiting for another train to pass, and that's because some sections of this are only single-tracked. We don't wait long though, and the other train passes us, and we're back on the move. I heard that Grapevine is a pretty cool place with a cool downtown area. It also has a vintage railroad. I definitely wish I would have taken the time to explore this area a little bit more, but I'm sticking to my schedule so far. Seeing a plane means we must be getting close to DFW Airport, which is the end of the line for this train. It makes a lot of sense for a train to end at the airport because you know that there's always going to be a pretty steady stream of passengers. It also makes it pretty convenient if you're arriving at the airport and trying to get elsewhere in the area.
Westbound forward, departing track 1 minutes. All aboard.
Thank you for riding Trinity Metro Tex Rail.
I think this was my favorite station from this whole trip. I love the canopies that go over the rails, and its proximity to the airport allows you to hear some of the jets taking off, even see some of them taxiing across the road in the distance. You can also connect to DART's Orange Line here. You take this little pathway, and I didn't take it all the way to the end, but I did end up seeing this UPS plane, which was really cool, and again, one of the reasons why I really like this station. I did see the DART Orange Line train from across the street, but we're not going to be taking that just yet because we still have the Silver Line to take. Connecting to the DFW terminal is as easy as going the opposite direction as the way I went, again making it a very easy connection for anyone trying to use these trains to get to the airport. Off in the distance, I see our next train approaching. Having personnel on board is always interesting, and I think it goes a long way to improve the perception of safety aboard public transit. Definitely for it. They never even asked for my tickets or anything, just kind of chilled. I wanted to walk through the cool part of the train, which is actually where all the diesel equipment is, and you can walk through it, which is absolutely cool. And of course, there's sliding doors at either end to make sure the noise doesn't enter the other compartments, but it's just such a cool quirk of these trains. There's also working digital signage, which is always good to see, and these train interiors are pretty much exactly what I had on Tex Rail. They're nearly identical. This is a very new service too, only opening in October of 2025. So it was only about 2 months old when I rode it in December of 2025. We see a familiar sight crossing a big freeway. The DFW area is very sprawly in terms of suburban, urban landscape, and you can see that through some of the scenery we pass along pretty much all of the trains we take today. Every once in a while you see more dense development though, which is always good to see, especially around transit stations.
Station, Shiloh Road Station.
We passed through the campus of UT Dallas, which is always a great way to pick up more riders and provide great service for students who might not necessarily have cars.
Now arriving, CityLine Bush Station. Llegando a CityLine Bush Station.
That's the train I really wish I was on, because now I have to wait 20 minutes for the next one. Lovely.
CityLine Bush Station. This is the Silver Line. Final destination, Shiloh Road Station.
Once again, I don't take the train to the end of the line, but this is CityLine Bush Station, which is the first point which I can connect to DART's orange and red lines, which is what I want to take to get back into downtown Dallas. And there's a couple of like big office buildings around here. It all looks very new, but it was definitely a cool vibe. We got some nice transit-oriented development over there. So this is the Silver Line station. There's some art, and then this is DART station. So the orange line and the red line both come through here. I wish they timed the transfers a little bit better because there was a red line train that literally left 1 minute after this train came in here, and our train was on time and everything, so it's a little frustrating that they couldn't sync that up, given that this is one of the only places where it overlaps with another DART line. So
Yeah, she said even if she's not in a relationship, she's still.
having started this trip on some of the newest, nicest trains definitely spoiled me for this last bit, because the experience on the DART red line here just isn't quite what the Silver Line or Tex Rail was like. There's more people, some people playing music, and then the trains are just louder. There's less noise isolation. We are moving pretty fast, pretty comparable to how fast we were on the Silver Line and Tex Rail, but it's just, I don't know. The rolling stock is older. It still functions perfectly well, but it's just a lot different. Suddenly we were in a tunnel, which was pretty surprising because up until this point everything has been above ground, but it turns out the stop I was intending to get off was also in that tunnel, so it's definitely interesting being suddenly so far underground. As the train was departing, it suddenly came to a stop for some reason. I'm really not sure what was going on there, whether there was like a signaling issue or someone pulled the emergency brake or something, but soon enough we were on a very long escalator, which again was a surprise because I didn't realize we were this far underground at this point. The next set of escalators had an inclinator running through the middle, which was really cool. It's basically an elevator that goes both up and down and horizontal. And for the surprise part of this video, I decided that I was going to take the streetcar for the next bit, essentially bypassing the connection I was going to have to make on DART anyways. This turntable turns the streetcar around so that it can depart, and this is at the City Place station on the DART system. This was actually free to ride, and anyone's allowed to just hop on. After a short ride, I got off and I arrived at the next DART station that I would be picking up the Orange Line from. Eventually, I found a seat that I liked, and it's more of the same experience from the last DART train. Although the views we get leaving Dallas are really fantastic. The train does empty out the further away we get from Dallas, and we pass over another highway. The final destination of this train is all the way back to DFW Airport, which we were just at a little bit ago. But it takes a much different route to get there, passing through a lot of different suburbs. Eventually, we made it to a section where we run along the street, which was really interesting to see. I didn't know that there was going to be this dense of housing around on this line, and it's really cool, and I hope that the people living here know that they can use this public transit to get around. Because this train is comprised of multiple units, you can look into the driver's area that's not being used at the moment. Soon enough, we made it to my final station for the day. I had arranged with my dad to pick me up and take me to the hotel that we were going to stay at for the night. It's a little annoying that I wasn't able to get to the hotel on foot or with other transit, but that's kind of just the reality, and it really goes to show that the final mile is really important, and until you solve that problem, there's going to be a lot of people that don't consider public transit. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you've maybe learned something. If you haven't seen my video aboard the Texas Eagle, which I took to get to Dallas, you should definitely watch that because I go over what it's like to ride an overnight Amtrak train in a roomette. I don't know how much more transit content I'll be able to make, but it's definitely a priority of mine to kind of explore the public transit in everywhere that I visit and I travel to, so you can probably expect to see a few more videos in the future. I do have a trip aboard the Empire Builder booked already for early this summer, so definitely look forward to that. I'll try and make an interesting video about that. But yeah, if you like this, consider subscribing because it shows YouTube that people like this stuff, and also you can see more of this stuff when I inevitably shoot and then take multiple months to edit. Yeah, give it a like maybe, and definitely drop a comment if you have questions or I said anything incorrect and you'd like to correct me. Please go ahead. I want to know what I got wrong and maybe clarify for other people. But yeah, have a good one.